Well, talking about heritage and ownership, we have to keep in mind that both concepts were being imported to the Maya world and inserted into the Maya ontology, right? So in terms of heritage, we can define in our language as something that is the legacy from our ancestors, and it's really broad, and it involves spiritual values as well, and spiritual values attached to, for instance, the land, the landscape, mountains, not only archaeological places, not only temples, but also the natural environment. Yeah. So this is how we can understand heritage. Is all this, all the world, you know. And in relation to ownership, the thing is that still today we have conflicts on or generated by this concept, because when you talk about, for instance, a sacred place or the sacred land, you know, it means that has subjective or spiritual values that are not possible to be owned by anyone. Yeah. But what we know is that the ownership is a concept developed in medieval times. You know, it generated division of land in Europe, specifically in during the enclosure movement in England. So it generates division of land and also division of communities, you know, and also deracination of people, you know, from the land. But we have to see that the land in itself is our heritage. So we are also being deracinated or detached from our heritage, right? And this process is being reproduced nowadays in Maya lands. During the 80s, there were some neoliberal policies by Mexican government promoting to divide communal lands. So the idea was that you can own, you know, a plot of land, and then you have a title, yeah? But this is very recent for the Maya people. This is very new notion of the land or how to see the land, you know, more in economic terms or more in objective terms. And still there are several discussions in the communities, because there are people that do not like and do not want, you know, the land to be divided, because there is a conflict, you know, an ontological conflict. How can you own a sacred place? Yeah, but we have to acknowledge that the national policies and actually the government have more influence, you know, in this process. And actually, they develop policy making. They develop the policies to divide the land, and most of the time the community is not being consulted. So you have, you know, a different, an equal relationship where you have a institution imposing a notion of ownership to a community. And nowadays, well, most of the land is being divided, you know, in small plots, and but still there are some resistance, and sometimes, you know, a line is a division of peoples, not only a division of lands, and you have conflicts there, you know, in the line or in both sides of the line. So in my experience, sometimes both communities just decide to talk each other and say, hey, well, this is a division, this is a new line, you know, dividing our communities. Why we just don't consider this, instead of a line of division, a place of encounter, yeah? And then, for instance, both communities celebrate ceremonies in this place, just trying to, you know, get joined together again. So this is one of the examples. Another examples are just violent conflict, because a line is just, division of people's interest and so on and so forth. So most of the time conflicts are being generated. And the problem is that this is not a new process, because it started when Spaniards arrived. They also create divisions, in larger scale. And again, well, in that time as well, conflicts were generated by these lines. Yeah, so it is not a recent phenomenon. It has a long history as well. I have a very nice experience last year, because at the same place in Oskintok, in the hill, which is a sacred place, there is a line dividing two communities. So it's divided in two parts, the sacred hill. So both communities wanted to make ceremonies in that area, but then you see the line, and then in the past decades, there were some conflicts, because people just say, hey, I want to make the ceremony in this side because this is more sacred, or this is where my grandparents did the ceremonies, yeah, and I don't care if there is a line here, yeah. So last year, I remember there was a ceremony where both communities prepare everything, and they perform the ceremony together, and they were just saying, hey, just forget about the line, let's just encounter here and just make again a community, or just construct the community again.